Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Indy's Trusted Servant Show on INSPIREsmall.biz. Thanks to Ryan Henry for hosting the Indy's Trusted Servant Show. He's the major domo of INSPIREsmall.biz. What's Indy's Trusted Servant? Well, that's me, Danny O'Malia. I do customer service training and keynote speaking about customer service. And the culture of the organization is the key to the customer service of the organization. We're going to talk to somebody who I think has got his own great culture in just a minute. Where did I learn all of that? Well, I learned all of that at the hand of the master, my late father, Joe O'Malia, back in the O'Malia Food Market days. And even before then, when my dad owned a small grocery store in Broad Ripple where the Vanguard Bar is now. One cash register, 6 employees, one of them a 9 or 10-year-old kid, which he actually lost. And he successfully launched O'Malia Food Markets 10 years later. And one of the things I learned from my dad, aside from the customer service and the culture, was never, ever, ever give up. What's Indy's Trusted Servant Show on INSPIREsmall.biz? I like to describe it as lively local small biz and community talk where you can feel the pulse of Indy. And today's guest is my good friend, Chris Reed of Creed and Big Deck.
Creed Improvements.
Creed Improvements and Big Deck Energy. He's one of the more colorful entrepreneurs in town. I met him through Rainmakers a long time ago, and he had a networking event that I attended quite a bit a long time ago before COVID. Now we're back together again. So, Chris, welcome to the Indy's Trusted Servant Show.
Well, thank you, Danny, for having me. I really appreciate it. Of all the years, I was looking at this morning. We've known each other for 15 years.
15. That's about right. That's about when I started Indy's Trusted Servant. Exactly. So, let the folks know a little bit about Chris Reed and where he came from and what he did before Creed.
Okay.
And how he came to re-energize Creed, I guess you might say, lately.
So, born in a suburb of Columbus, Ohio. Young kid, moved to Fort Wayne. My parents raised us in Fort Wayne, and after college I moved down to Indianapolis. I've been here, 2/3 of my life. I was 20 years old when I moved here. So
I think you said you went to Ivy Tech. Yep. What'd you study?
Marketing.
So, where'd you go to high school in Fort Wayne?
Homestead High School.
Homestead High School.
Spartans. So
okay.
I had a marketing degree, went through all kinds of sales and marketing training for various corporations. Worked for Bell South Mobility for, almost a decade.
Bell South in Indianapolis?
Paging.
We
used to
yes.
Right? Back in the day. And then cell phones to BlackBerries. We sold, I helped a corporate team for then Cellular One integrate BlackBerries into the culture till whatever that was. It was 2001 or 2002. And then I got into small business marketing and networking, and that's when I met you, was through networking organization called Rainmakers, and became a partner leader with Tony Celzo then, and helped with that. Did some business coaching back then, and I realized that I was entrepreneurial through that, but I'd caught it from my dad and his father.
But it never really took hold in your brain until now.
I had to see it in such practical application with people like yourself, et cetera, that were doing it. And not to be offensive to you, but I just said to myself, they're no smarter than I am. I should just do this. You know what I'm saying? And so I started Creed Improvements. We were a handyman service back then, and I probably told you the story before, but it was a networking exercise in which we had to develop a tagline. And my friend Jim Doring out of Bloomington had this IT consulting business, and his was, we take the SH out of IT. And everybody laughed at it.
Colorful.
And it got around to about 15 more people, and all their taglines were not colorful. And I was like the last guy, and so I said, hey, I literally on a whim, I just said, hey, we take the butt crack out of home repair. And everybody fell out laughing, but people loved repeating that because it made them giggle, but at the same time, it cut through literally the BS of who we are. You're hiring a professional to do the job that needed to be done. So
what kind of home repair were you doing then?
All this break fix stuff, and I'm glad you asked that because it kind of segues into Big Deck Energy. When I would come to your house with the old Creed Improvements, we were fixing something that was broken. the patient was nervous that they didn't know, and I didn't know until we opened up the chest of the patient what was really wrong with the house sometimes. And those people were always looking at me like I was going to take advantage of them, etc. They were so, it's kind of like going to a bad mechanic.
Well, you've had advantage taken of you before.
Yes,
right.
And everybody has that shell shock. So I say it that way because it was a lot of negative energy. And when I reinvented Creed Improvements, probably about 8 years ago, about halfway through the thing, I decided to start saying no to handyman work and only saying yes to decks, pergolas, porches, and finishing basements. And the short of that is that all of these are forward-thinking projects that people,
not fixing stuff, building stuff.
Exactly.
Right.
Sometimes we're repairing decks and things like that, but it's easy for us to reassure the client. They can see the pictures of the work that we've done before. They know they're going to get a quality build, and so the energy just became much more positive around my business because the clients were enjoying the process itself. The clients were enjoying the deliverable at the end of the project, and all of that it just felt so much better.
Now, are you a one-man show?
Well, I am the only, I am Creed Improvements, but I have about 4 guys that work for me on the regular, like as in 30, 40 hours a week, so to speak, about 30 hours a week, the average. And then I have specialty guys in plumbing and electrical trades, those kind of trades that I bring in, apologize, whenever we need them.
So that the plumbing and the electricals would be the basement stuff mostly.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Completely. When we finish a basement, it's usually a blank slate space, and we're going to help the client design it the way they want it, and then furnish it the way they want it, and finish it the way they want it.
Is it most? Now let's just talk about the basements for a minute. By the way, I'm sorry to interrupt, but Ryan, I need to know when we got 5 minutes. We forgot to do that. And we used to have a clock, but we don't have a clock here.
Yeah. There you go.
That I can see anyway. Yeah. So a basement, what percentage of the basements are new homes that are unfinished versus basements that people just want remodeled?
Yeah, most of it is all new spaces.
Mostly new
It's
spaces.
Homeowners that have moved into a house and they have a basement that needs to be finished, and most of them don't realize the value of that space and what it can do for the resale value of their house.
Not only that, but if they have kids, so on and so forth, more space for the family to live in and for the kids to play in and whatever, right?
Let's put the kids down there. Exactly.
Yeah. I got my youngest daughter. She's got 11, 9, and 7-year-olds, and they play in the basement.
Right. Yeah, that's great.
So it's a funny thing. I never heard the word pergola until about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
what's the difference between a pergola and a deck for the uninitiated?
Yeah. So a pergola goes over a deck or a concrete patio or a paver patio.
In other words, it's the roof.
You want to call it a roof, but it's really just shade. It's a crosshatch of boards that goes over a patio or a deck. Actually, and if it goes over a walkway, it's called an arbor. Which is not something.
Over a walkway. Help me visualize.
A sidewalk into a house when you put a pergola thing over a walkway, it's called an arbor. But anyways, So a lot of times we go to consult on a pergola and we wind up talking with them about what they really want out of it, and it's the shade because it's super hot out. They don't have mature trees in the backyard.
What percentage of that are homes versus, say, restaurants? Because I see...
Yeah, we could do commercial space, but we don't. We do residential.
It's residential.
So we're putting a roof over a deck or a patio on the back of a house. And so you can see lots of pictures on our Facebook page at Creed Improvements as well. But it gives you 100% shade. We're tapping into the electrical outlet on the back of a house in order to put a couple circuits in for even
want to watch a TV,
or a ceiling fan and some lights and things like that to set the mood.
Now, do you enclose them at all?
We do. We create screened-in
porches.
We put windows in them, etc. And we're usually about 60% the price of like a Champion patio enclosure unit with windows and a mini split in it. Those can run hundreds of thousands of dollars, and we're usually in the half price to 60% range.
Okay. So how has the supply and demand? You ramped up the. You ramped up Creed a while back.
Yeah.
Is the supply and demand stuff caught up to you yet, or?
Well, we persevered through it, you know. I remember back in the height of COVID and all the lockdowns that we'd literally go to 3 different box stores in order to get the lumber that we needed for one project. You know, we would spend.
Can you go to one now?
We can just go one now and get.
You're almost back to normal
yeah,
then.
Yeah, the pricing is actually starting to come down too on the materials itself.
Well, if you had to go to 3 different stores to get, say, the lumber, then that's costly.
Yeah,
and if you only have to go to one, that helps you and the homeowner, right?
Sure does, exactly.
Before I forget, tell people how to get a hold of Creed and Big Deck. Here we go, my Big Deck koozie, right?
Exactly, I brought you a koozie. Yeah, 317-626-1177. We ask if you could text us because it's noisy at the job site. And so this is a customer service thing that we could talk about too, but it's like we text people, we ask people to text us because when they do, it's not an instant response they're looking for, like a live phone call.
Yep.
So if I'm running a saw or something, I can't answer the phone, it goes to voicemail. And then it's 7 o'clock at night and I'm calling people back and they're having their dinner. And so we miss each other again, right? And so I say, if you just text me, I'll respond back, hey, give me your address, and they give me their address, and I'm building them into our system in order to get that data in there, and it's all spelled out the way, their email address, etc. I don't have to interpret with my bad hearing, and then I ask them what they want to do, and they document. So at any point in time where I'm confused, I can just scroll back up through our conversation, and I can look at all the questions that they've answered. And so I get to the point of meeting with them, and I'm able to go back through that. It makes a great...
Do you find most of your meetings are set via text, or do you eventually...
Yeah, we set most of them via text.
Via text.
It's just, they're busy people, I'm busy people. It just works out faster that way.
That's a funny scenario there. Now, I'm 75 years old. People that know me well know that I'm getting up there, right? And I'm still partial to talking on the phone,
I know.
Right?
I know.
But
and I would call you. I know you.
Yeah. My 39-year-old daughter, her voicemail says, or better yet, shoot me a text, right? But in your case, with the noise and so on and so forth, that makes business. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Because if I'm not running a saw, I'm driving down the road to get materials, and I don't have a pad of paper in my hand.
Yes. Yes.
So I put them on speakerphone, and then I'd listen to all those things, and we get all excited about whatever we talked about, and then I get off the phone, and something else would happen, and
you'd forget something. Yeah.
I would miss a detail or something like that. So with the texting, it just does make things a
Well,
lot faster.
it's a nice thing to explain to people like me who could get somewhat put off by somebody who insists on texts.
Right.
And it's usually somebody half my age. Now, not that you're. How old are you? Like
I'm
50?
54 this
You're
year.
54. Okay, my daughter's 39.
And we also send text pictures of the project as it's going along to the client. So they're at work and they're doing their job and they're getting updates and stuff like that.
How many different suppliers do you use?
Geez, I don't know, but 5 or 6 probably main suppliers.
Yeah.
The Lowe's and the Menards, those kind of things.
You can get everything you need locally, right?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, this is a little off topic, and you might be a little leery of answering it, but how's the service at Lowe's and Menards and your other suppliers? Have you ever had to drop a supplier for bad service?
Boy, I don't know. I haven't dropped any for bad service. What I will say is that, you know, I have great customer service from Lowe's because I have a commercial sales specialist that I work with on things. I have a paint rep that I work with on things. So I have a one-person contact, so to speak. Where I notice the breakdown is when I walk into a random store. We're all on the other side of Hamilton County, and I need to walk into a store that's not my home store, so to speak.
Okay.
And in those situations,
a random Lowe's store, you mean?
Yeah, or something like that.
If you're just an everyday schmo,
yes,
your service might not be so good. But if you're a guy that's doing a lot of business with them, and you got, I didn't know they had these specialists.
We specialize in Hamilton County. It's our backyard. We're there all the time. So the Carmel store, if I walk in and out there, everybody knows me. Like they see this shirt, they know who I am. When I can tell who's new because they don't recognize who I am.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And it makes all the difference in the world in how fast you can get in and out of some place, that kind of thing.
Oh, absolutely. Now that leads to another question. You mentioned Hamilton County.
Yep.
What are your geographic parameters? How far would you go?
Well, we'll go just outside of Hamilton County is what I try to tell people. Like Brownsburg is too far. It takes us almost an hour to get to Brownsburg. And so what we do is we wind up losing almost 2 hours a day.
Dan's gas and
You have to charge all that out to the client, and it just makes it more expensive.
So give me some geographic. If I'm watching this and I'm thinking of calling you, but I live in Lawrence, say for instance, what's the farthest southeast, northwest?
Eagle Creek over to Lawrence, and from kind of Broad Ripple up to Cicero.
Okay.
Tipton's a little too far.
Okay, so Cicero to Broad Ripple.
30-minute drive of Keystone to the Crossing is what I try to tell people, but not south.
So Cicero to Broad Ripple, and east and west, it's Lawrence, and what's west?
Probably like Eagle Creek.
But about Eagle Creek.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. So if you're on the south side, forget calling Chris.
Well, you can call me, and I appreciate it. I have partners that on the south side.
You can help
them.
them. You can help them.
I just send them over to those people because they're good people and they specialize on the south side of town.
Okay.
It's better that way.
Okay. Well, it's good to get that kind of stuff cleared up for folks.
I appreciate that.
So, where do we go from here? This is really fascinating. I live in a house that's 50 years old now. We moved into it when it was 5 years old, and we've done an awful lot of remodeling and stuff, and we're pretty well set. But I live in Carmel.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yep.
We moved into Carmel in it'll be 46 years ago this fall, and the people on either side of us, those families are still there, 3 houses in a row. Very unusual in Carmel, very unusual in your whole area of where you do business.
For sure.
So how many of your customers have moved in, have built the home, or it's a brand new home versus they moved into a home and said, boy, we'd like a deck. Boy, we'd like...
I would say I probably only like 10 or 20% are brand new homes, and the rest of it is an existing home, and we're going to remodel it.
And I'll bet a lot of people, back to the basement thing and finishing out the basement, probably a lot of people buy a home with an unfinished basement or no deck. It saves them some money, and then later they're ready to, move along, and they get kids and so on and so forth, right?
Exactly. They need the extra space. They got to get a son or a daughter going through college, and they just want to put a bedroom down in the basement so they can be the teenager that they are, but still be at home.
Kind of or for family that's visiting from out of town too.
That's true.
That happens. Family grows up.
The mother-in-law's quarters, as we call it.
Exactly.
Exactly. Good stuff.
So you say you've got four or five employees, actual employees.
Yeah. Well, I don't call it. They're not W-2s.
They're not W-2s. Okay.
99 subcontractors.
So a lot of them do other stuff too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what would you say is the biggest challenge you face now? Is it marketing? Is it finding employees? What is it?
It's probably finding good employees. It really is. We have I call it a mentorship learn to earn program. We take a 17, 18-year-old kid and teach him construction and carpentry, and it's one of those things where we're looking for the person that doesn't want to just show up and fog a mirror, but actually wants to get engaged and involved,
and doesn't run up a bunch of college debt.
Yeah, again, it's trades and stuff like that. They start out $16, $18 an hour, and yes, you can get that at McDonald's now, but you're not going to, in 6 months to a year, be making $25 to $28 an hour, which is what happens with people that actually apply.
If they would stay with you or somebody like you,
for a year, they learn the skills, they become a valuable asset to my organization, and I tell people if they pass the first couple of days and they seem like they can apply themselves in the sharp, you could probably run my business in 5 years if you can apply yourself.
That the whole Mike Rowe and the dirty jobs thing, and the whole my mind is switching from everybody should go to college to some people should go to college, some people should not, and you can make a good living being an electrician, a drywall guy, or a deck builder, right?
For sure.
And that's a message. I think more schools are getting that message.
My skilled guys make $30, $35 an hour.
Awesome.
Awesome. And again, it's because I want them to be loyal. I pay them a little bit more, but they also work 30 hours a week. So they're working kind of like an 8:30 to 4 every day. Because we start after the clients go to work, and we get done before they come home to dinner.
then that's what the client wants, right?
And it works both ways. My guys enjoy that time, but they're also not taking a 15-minute break. So I tell my clients that we work 2 3-hour sprints. We show up at 8:30. By 9 o'clock, tools are buzzing. We break for lunch at noon. By 1 o'clock, we're back at it. And at 3:30, we're starting to clean up tools and put everything away because we have to set our shop up, our business every day.
You mentioned something, clean up tools and put everything away. I remember a time when we had an issue with water coming through the basement ceiling, and we called a plumber that advertised on TV and looked good.
Yep.
And they fixed it, but they left they left sawdust on the floor, and boy, I had never spoke well of that plumber again.
Yeah, and
you're well aware of that stuff.
We're constantly cleaning up and trying to make it look every day as best we can, and then of course when we end, we're cleaning up after ourselves and leaving it ready to go. That's like the client, the pictures we get to take most of the time don't have them all moved into the space, but it's ready to move in, and that's what they love. Yeah.
So how many clients can you do all at once?
Well, that's the thing, is we don't. We tend to have 2 to 3 projects in motion at any one time. But when we put people in a first in, first out order. So
right.
If we're working on your deck, then we're parked there for 3 to 5 days, unless we run into a situation where like an inspection has to happen and we have to take a day off. Then we'll run over and maybe load materials onto another job site for the following week and things like that.
So you mentioned an inspection has to happen. What causes that? Is that the city coming in and saying you got to get a permit, or
like on a deck, for example? It's the easiest thing to talk about. So if you're going to attach a ledger board to the back of a house, which is a construction term to bolting the deck onto the back of a house, and it's over 200 square feet, you're going to pull a permit. You're going to and it's twofold. It's ensure that it's done right. They have an inspector to come in to check things as a footer inspection, and then what's called a framing rough-in inspection. And
this is before you start working?
Well, I mean, it's part of it. Yeah, it's
part
a
of
process.
it. Okay.
It goes through the process. It's 3 different inspections: a final, a rough-in in the middle, and then a footer inspection at the very beginning. And it's all to ensure quality. But here's the catch, and it's just me. It's a tax mechanism. So once a deck is put on the back of the house at the final, then they assess it for a tax.
That square footage of the house, right?
Yep. It's added as usable space.
Yeah.
The house, and it increases their tax base. So it works. It's for the homeowner and for the taxing government to be able to get to know that you finished a project.
So your end of that. That's part of your fee.
Yeah.
Right.
We build it all in. The hour.
Yeah,
I go out and meet with the inspectors and everything. Yeah.
So what is your dream? Do you want to grow and have 50 employees and start doing a wider geography? And the second question is the housing market helping or hurting you now?
So housing market is not hurting us. Some people are selling and they need to rehab, and some people are moving in and they need to rehab. It's a cyclical process. Every spring is completely crazy, and every winter is completely dead.
Completely dead. Okay.
So, but as far as the first part of your question, I apologize. I'm like, that's the one I wanted to answer. I just blanked on it.
I forget what it was too. No. Isn't that awful? And you're not as old as me, so you don't have any excuses. Well, the housing market is not slowing you down, or
no, it sure isn't. We really love it.
Oh, the first part of the question is, is your dream to grow it?
Oh yeah, the dream. So actually, no. My dream is to keep it about the size that we are now, and it's kind of that. If I grew bigger, I'd have to split people into 2 crews, and then I would have to hire another manager to manage the And all I mean by that is it comes down to that old tale about the fisherman and the CEO, the Spanish guy, and he was fishing and he was taking a nap on the beach, and the guy said, "Hey, I could teach you how to have a whole fleet of ships." And he's like, takes him through the whole thing. He's like, "And then what?" You have a $1 billion fishing and canning empire, and then at the end of it, it's like, what would you be able to do? I would be able to do anything you want to do, and you'd be able to have all this free time because you could retire. And the guy says, "I have all the free time I want now." I have designed my life around my business. As Seth Godin said to me in 2008, if you design a life that you love to live, you'll never need to take a vacation or retire from it.
Well, perfect.
I love my life. I have great culture.
You just spoke to the culture thing.
Yeah.
Back in the food market days, my dad learned when he lost that first store. Just so you know this, he lost the first store because he opened a second one took out a big loan at the bank, went to run the second one, and the first one went downhill. And then the bank came in and took the whole thing. He never made that mistake again. When we had O'Malley's, we only opened a new store when we were ready to do it with enough people and so on and so forth. And it's a big step. And a lot of people, a lot of businesses expand too quickly.
Yeah, I spend a lot of my hours of my life in my business, and I enjoy my customers, but most of all, I enjoy my employees. I am an active participant in their lives, and we are in a
You're a family.
We're a family.
That's good.
And we like to spend time together, and and it just it makes my life worth living, and that's what I love about it.
Before I run out of time, give us that contact info again in case anybody wants a deck, pergola, or a basement remodel.
Yeah, check us out on Facebook. Find Creed Improvements on Facebook. Look at the pictures. You'll find all of our contact information there as well. But 317-626-1177 is the number. We'd love to hear from you.
Next week on the Indy's Trusted Servant Show, we'll have Yolanda Kincaid, CEO of Janus Developmental, which is the noble of Hamilton County. A wonderful, wonderful organization you're going to want to hear more about. Chris Reed, Creed, Big Deck Energy, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Take care.